Nelson Mandela sat alone inside a prison cell. The room was small and cold. Iron bars stood in front of him. Light entered slowly through a small window. At night, he slept on a thin mat on the floor. Outside the cell, a long corridor remained quiet. A guard walked past without speaking. Mandela sat in silence, lost in thought. This prison stood on Robben Island, surrounded by cold ocean water. But Mandela's story did not begin here. He was born in a small rural village in South Africa. As a boy, he walked beside elders who taught him about leadership. Years later, he studied with determination, believing education could change his future. Eventually, he left home and traveled to Johannesburg, where his life would take a new direction. Mandela's childhood began in a quiet village, far from the noise of the cities. Simple homes stood across the open land, and families lived close to tradition. As a young boy, Mandela stood outside his home, watching the world with curiosity. He often walked beside village elders, listening carefully to their stories. They spoke about justice. They spoke about responsibility. And they spoke about what it meant to lead. These lessons shaped him. In school, Mandela learned discipline and patience. He spent long hours studying, determined to understand the world beyond his village. Books became important to him. They offered knowledge, and knowledge offered possibility. As he grew older, Mandela left the village behind. He arrived in Johannesburg, a city full of movement and opportunity. But the city also revealed something difficult to ignore. The world was not equal. In South Africa, public spaces were divided by race. Segregation was part of everyday life. Police watched citizens closely, enforcing laws that separated communities. Across the country, people began to gather in protest. Crowds formed in the streets, demanding equality. Voices rose together, calling for change. Mandela spoke to small groups of supporters, encouraging courage and unity, but the government refused to listen. Powerful buildings stood as symbols of authority, reminding citizens who controlled the country. Soon, arrests became common. Protesters were taken away. Leaders were targeted. And one day, Mandela himself was arrested. Police vehicles carried him into custody. Even then, he remained calm. His hands were placed in handcuffs, but his resolve did not change. Mandela was brought before the court. The courthouse stood tall, a place where decisions would shape history. Inside, the courtroom was silent. People watched closely, knowing this trial mattered. Mandela stood calmly before the judge. He showed no fear, only determination. The judge listened, then prepared to deliver the sentence. The audience remained still, waiting. Mandela's expression did not change. He understood the risk of his actions. His hands were placed in handcuffs once again. Soon he was taken away in a prison transport vehicle. The road ahead was uncertain. The journey led across the ocean toward Robben Island, a place built to isolate prisoners from the world. Mandela stepped onto the island, beginning a new chapter of suffering and endurance. Each day on Robben Island began the same way. Mandela worked in a stone quarry under the burning sun. Prisoners labored together, breaking rocks for hours. Guards watched from a distance, ensuring silence and obedience. After the long work day, Mandela sat on the ground to rest. His body was tired, but his mind remained steady. Inside his cell, he wrote letters whenever he could. Words became his connection to the outside world. He spent quiet moments reading, learning whenever the opportunity came. Sometimes he stood at the bars looking beyond the prison walls. Time passed slowly. Calendar pages turned, marking the years. Mandela grew older. His hair began to turn grey. Rain fell outside the prison window while life continued beyond the island. At night, the corridors became silent again. Mandela sat calmly, breathing slowly, keeping his thoughts focused. Even in prison, he searched for peace. Sunset light entered the cell, ending another difficult day. Mandela stood upright, strong despite the years. And in the quiet, he continued to endure. Then, after 27 years, the prison door finally opened. Light filled the doorway. Nelson Mandela walked out of prison, free at last. Crowds gathered outside, waiting to see him. He raised his hand and waved, calm and composed. People celebrated across the country. Mandela began speaking to the public again, this time as a symbol of change. Journalists recorded every moment. Citizens listened with hope. Mandela smiled, knowing the future was uncertain, but possible. He walked forward toward a new chapter. Soon he stood as President of South Africa. He spoke to the nation with calm authority. Former enemies shook hands, choosing peace over revenge. Crowds listened carefully, ready to rebuild their country. And as the sun rose over the horizon, a new future began. Nelson Mandela, once prisoner 46664, became a leader remembered around the world. His story proved that patience can defeat injustice and forgiveness can change history. And in the quiet light of a new morning, hope remained. The story of Nelson Mandela did not end with his presidency. It continued in the lives he changed. Across South Africa, people began rebuilding their communities. Former divisions slowly gave way to understanding. The future was still uncertain, but hope was stronger than fear. Mandela showed the world that true leadership is not about power. It is about patience, it is about courage, and it is about choosing peace when conflict feels easier. Years in prison could not break his spirit. Instead, they revealed his strength. The morning sun rose over a new nation, and with it, a reminder that history is not only shaped by victory, but by forgiveness. Nelson Mandela's journey from prisoner to president remains one of the most powerful stories of resilience the world has ever seen.